Well, left. I've missed
What?
2.
You think whatever it is you're gonna do is gonna make a difference? This'll end up just like before!
Need to watch it.
I've been around for a while now, you know? While you've been indisposed, stuck in the darkness, I've been busy. I operate in the shadows, not always literally, you understand? I'm a little more resilient than those I've taken, but I do my best work in the dark.
Of course you do.
And
You get hurt in the
so
light.
much darkness out there that goes deep, and the things that live in it are bad, big bastards. They don't mind getting a little bit of elbow room. All that chaos and madness, it doesn't really do that much down there. It's like pouring a glass of water into the ocean, right? But up here, yeah, you can really make an impact. All they need is someone to bring them all the way through. But first, I had to take care of you. You party pooper.
Party pooper.
You're stuck in an eternal cycle now. The sun's never coming up for you. Everything else? Do my thing. Getting a bit of quality time with Alice. That's a little something for me. And I deserve it.
No, you don't. You don't deserve it at all. Is there any more? Manuscripts up here? Not in this parking area. There's one. There's another. And another. Yeah. There is one just out here. Is it outside the gate? There it is. I will talk to her again. I want to see if she... Nope, she's not going to say anything yet.
Oh, hey.
I'm hoping I can put an end to this now.
You'd better. I really don't want that to happen to me again. It's like somebody vomited in my brain, like a sleazy movie that keeps looping in my head.
I'll stop this, I swear.
You know the part that's really screwed up? If you mess it up, it'll just keep happening forever, right? I don't think I can deal with that.
Don't think about that.
I don't think of anything but.
I can help you deal with this afterwards.
Hey, afterwards, when all this is done, look me up. This thing, I can probably help you deal with it.
I don't know. It's almost like I'm not even in the same world anymore. Everything's just weird now.
Yeah, I know. A lot of that'll pass with time. But being touched by the darkness, it's rough on you. It's a lot to process. And I just don't want you to get completely screwed up by this.
Might be a little late for that, to be honest.
Yeah, well, there's degrees. At least you're not at a point where you go around picking fights with people over not changing their light bulbs often enough.
What?
Never mind. All I'm saying is, you're not alone with this. And anyway, you're friends with Alice, so, you know, any friend of hers.
Thank you.
That's all? Yep. And, of course, while I'm here... And the last note is just up there. I believe this was the last one. Oh, I did miss one here. The equilibrium. I'm pretty certain though that just like the other pages that I've missed them for good. Either that or we do still go back to each area where there'll be one page in each area. Oh no, there's a page. And I've got all of them in this area now. Cool. 52 or 53? What? Rest stop. Missed one. Observatory. Oh, I got them all there. I thought I missed one there. Nice. So while we're here, we might as well go listen to them all. Alan Wake, the writer.
My name is Alan Wake, and I'm a writer. I didn't become one overnight. Like most writers, I struggled with it. A short story here, an article there. Then I got lucky and spent a year as a staff writer on the Night Springs TV show. It wasn't the great American novel of my fantasies, but it taught me discipline and craft, and the difference between wanting to be a writer and actually writing.
Okay. So does that mean there was a year between the first game, the end of the first game, and his disappearance, and then it's been 2 years since his disappearance. Because I don't think he was a writer on the TV show in the first game. Hunting Mr. Scratch.
Mr. is a twisted copy of me, powerful and dangerous. But I know I can fight him. I don't think anybody else can. They don't understand what he is, what he represents, or that all the horrible things he does here are almost insignificant compared to what he will unleash on Earth given the chance. But I've survived the dark place, and it has taught me things. How to cope, how to stay sane when the world goes crazy. He's 2 steps ahead of me, but I can find him. And I believe I can stop him.
Okay. Went back too far. Rewriting reality.
The reality we take for granted is softer, more adaptable than we think. Under correct conditions, you can reshape it, turn it into almost anything you want. When it happens, almost nobody notices. It's not that we forget, it's that after the change, there's nothing to remember. Only those who have been directly touched by the powers that can shift reality are aware of the changes. Many are driven mad by it. Others can cope. I'm one of those people, and I know how to wield that power to rewrite reality.
I kind of like how these parts are written on paper. Unlike in Alan Wake, where they were just text on a white background. The devil is in the details.
To change reality, you nudge it into the right direction. Your version of it is there, waiting. It wants to come true. All you need to do is help it achieve its potential. The devil is in the details. You change the details of the scene to match those on the page. If you get the details right, if you achieve that critical mass, the shift will come, and the rest of your new reality overrides the existing paradigm. The lie, no matter how outrageous, is now the truth.
Okay. The Splitter.
Some of the Taken aren't protected by the darkness like their comrades. Instead, their aversion to light is so extreme that they literally split into 2 when they encounter strong light. It leaves the 2 halves weaker, but of course, there's strength in numbers. It's a disturbing development. The dark presence I faced 2 years ago was powerful, but it didn't have much in the way of imagination. Clearly, the same cannot be said of Mr.
Yeah. Too many legs.
The strands of webbing glistened in the beam of my flashlight, fine, almost ethereal. They were fresh and right in my path. I held my breath and waited, ears straining. Nothing. I moved on, concentrating on the task at hand. Just get what I was looking for, then leave. That's all I keep telling myself. For a moment, I actually thought it might be as simple as that. Then, I heard too many legs skittering across the ground.
Yeah. Those things were creepy. The Twisted Mirror.
My own face peered back at me from the TV screen. For a moment, I struggled with the sensation of déjà vu. How many times have I seen myself like this now? And then there was that easy grin that never seemed quite as quick or natural on my own lips. The dark, malicious twinkle in the eyes. And I knew who I was looking at. As he pulled back and revealed the room behind him, my throat went dry. There was nothing I could do but watch.
Yep. New reality, the satellite.
At the oil derrick, the wheel had been jammed in place and turned until the oil gurgled and flowed thick and flammable. The warning lights were blinking in a fast rhythm, bright and steady, powered by the battery. The Kasabian CD was playing in the boombox, all distorted guitars and intense beat. High above, some piece of orbital junk or another collided with the satellite, knocking it radically off course. Trailing debris, it screamed down from the skies at an impossibly steep angle. All that high-tech engineering reduced to nothing more than a bullet that would destroy whatever it hit.
So, essentially, Alan Wake wrote this, and we had to change the scene at the oil derrick to match the first part of this so the second part would come true. We had to do that 3 times. The appearance of Mr. Scratch.
I'm trapped in the darkness. He has started appearing to me. Mr. He can travel back into the world effortlessly, and he loves to rub my face in it. At first, he was just an echo in the darkness, a flicker beyond the edge of my vision. Now he started showing himself, getting bolder all the time, telling me what a great time he's having in the world while I'm stuck here, and what he plans to do, especially to Alice. All the moves I have left are dangerous and desperate. I have no choice. I have to hunt him.
I'm almost there, I believe. Pages and instincts.
I know that when I arrive, the clarity of vision I have now may disappear. I've made my plans. I've prepared for this. But I know the transition from the dark place will be hard on me. And not just physically. It may affect my mind, my memory. These pages should help me remember and focus. That's worked for me before. Even if that fails, I think I will be able to trust my instincts. I'm navigating my own story. I'm hoping I'll know where to go and what to do, even if the details elude me.
Yeah, okay. My best friend.
I don't make friends easily. I know plenty of people, but I don't let most of them close. I've known Barry Wheeler ever since we were little boys. We had the time of our lives. I'd get us in trouble, and he'd talk us out of it. Things haven't changed that much now that we're grown-ups. He's the most loyal and dependable person I've ever met, and all the things that count anyway. You could call him a weasel, and you wouldn't be entirely wrong. You could call him a clown, and I would reluctantly agree. But he has never let me down.
Well, that's always good. Wake's friends.
Alice and Barry, my wife and my best friend, are easily the 2 most important people in my life, and they've never really gotten along with each other. I suppose both of them resent the other's intrusions into what they considered their domain. After I was gone, they maintained an uneasy truce. My book stayed in print, still selling, the licensing machine churned away. She was my wife and controlled the intellectual property. He was my agent and took care of the business. I wish they found more common ground than that.
Yeah. Night Springs, the cult TV show.
Night Springs doesn't exist. It's a fictional town from the TV show I used to work on. It was Any Place USA, a place we used as a backdrop for whatever strange story we had that week. One of the stories I wrote for the show involved a man, the champion of light, fighting his evil double, the herald of darkness. It was something I'd written back in the real world, something I had a link to, a framework I could build on. I had adapted it into a new story. This story.
Okay. So that's how it came into... At the start of the game, we kind of zoomed into the TV for the start of one of the episodes. It was because he was using the script from that episode he wrote to rewrite the reality for this, what we played through. Night Springs, Arizona.
Now Night Springs is in Arizona, although not for long. It's in Arizona because whatever the town that has become Night Springs is really called is located near one of the thin, worn places in the world where dreams and reality flow together and life is always a little strange. Perfect analogy for Night Springs. I can't return to the real world. I've tried, but I'm operating on dream logic, forcing the door open a crack so I can slip through. I can enter the strange little town of Night Springs. All I did was put it in Arizona for one night.
Decent idea. How will that work out? The Spectre.
In Bright Falls, I was constantly under attack by birds that were more shadow than flesh and feathers. But this is an evolution. Some of the Taken were actually capable of turning into a flock of birds to escape my attacks and turning back into human form to make surprise attacks.
Yeah, it was a bit creepy seeing that first time. Emma Sloan.
With all the herbs, crystals, and the rest of her New Age paraphernalia, Emma Sloan had been called a hippie and a freak and worse. It was that small-town mentality. She was a female mechanic, and even in 2011, there were always going to be backward shit-kickers who thought that was a hoot. She didn't mind. She could deal. She could take any engine apart, even the new ones with all the computers in them. Turned out that these boys were awful polite while waiting for her to put them back together.
Yep. And there's the missing page. Old Gods of Asgard. I wish I could have got it. Barry and the Old Gods.
The Anderson brothers should probably have been in a facility somewhere, despite their tendency to escape from such places. It could be argued that they had no business being on tour, considering their condition. Their lives mostly revolved around the laundry list of ailments and their endless quest for liquor. But Barry Wheeler managed them now. And whatever else they might say about Barry, he knew how to make things happen. And honestly, it wasn't like the Andersons were the most difficult clients he ever had.
You're saying there was someone more difficult than them? Old Gods in the studio.
Getting the Andersons into the recording studio was a struggle and a half. But once they actually picked up the instruments, something happened. They were two old men, and they weren't. They were doddering bags of bone, and they were barely contained power. And there was music. Barry rubbed his hands together. He knew how to pick a winner. Now all they needed was some direction on how to make things a little more modern. Barry had never produced a thing in his life, but he knew what he liked. He knew Balance Slays the Demon was going to be a hit.
What I heard of it, it was a decent song. Surprised he was able to produce it so well. The Giant.
I have seen the darkness twist flesh into new shapes before, but encountering these giants is an extremely disturbing experience. It's as if the genre has been switched on me. There's something out of Pulp Fiction. Twice as tall as normal men and stronger than forklifts, their lumbering gait and slow-witted demeanor brings to mind some kind of mean-spirited caricature of a feeble-minded hillbilly.
Okay. Emma and Mr. Scratch.
Emma wasn't sure exactly when the man arrived at the motel, but from what she could tell, the party started almost immediately. It was infectious, spreading from one room to another. He was mercurial, almost as if he was flickering through the scene, telling a joke here, throwing an insult there, oozing sex and violence and excitement. She had never seen someone like this before. He looked at her and smiled, and she felt her heart flutter a little. She knew he was the kind of man mothers warn their daughters about, but she told herself it didn't matter.
Of course. And look what he turned into. Let's go through the observatory now. This is going to take a bit, but I do want to get through them all. Success.
As a storyteller, my first real love was crime. And it was in that genre that I finished my first novel, starring the perpetually miserable Alex Casey, whose entire life was a wound that never healed. The books sold as fast as they hit the shelves. I wrote 5 more Alex Casey books, and they all were bestsellers. I became rich. I became famous. Success brought pressure, and I didn't handle it very well.
Yeah. Pressure.
The pressure of success got to me. My wife Alice was the sole thing in my life that anchored me. Suddenly it wasn't enough. I couldn't write anymore. I distracted myself with wild parties and whatever trouble I could scare up. I wallowed in the drama of my life, sure that Alice would stick with me even though she didn't sign up to be the lifeline of a tortured artist. It was my dumb luck she's not the type to give up.
You're lucky there. The genesis of Mr. Scratch.
I've seen the enemy, and it's me. I've faced dark horrors before, things that live in the unimaginable pressures of the world beyond our own. Sometimes they masquerade as humans. That's what ultimately lurks inside Mr. Scratch. He's every mean-spirited tabloid story about me, an evil caricature, a creature formed in that vague territory of misconceptions, half-truths, and the dark imagination of people who heard a story about me. An urban legend made flesh. A serial killer. My dark half. Brought to life by the power of Cauldron Lake.
Yeah. Damn Cauldron Lake. Fighting the Taken.
I've carried a flashlight and a gun for so long that I feel naked without either. It's all too often that I need them. The darkness protects the Taken. Shadows crawl over their forms like living things, protecting them from harm. Blows that would injure or kill a human outright mean nothing to them as long as the darkness persists. But light makes them vulnerable. Light burns the shadows away. The darkness that drives them is still in them, but now they're vulnerable. Flashlight and gun. Sometimes it feels they're all I have left.
Working together, they work well. The spiders.
The spiders aren't really the work of the enemy. They're a side effect. A part of the Dark Place's less significant fauna that has managed to slip through the opening I made when I arrived. Less an animal than an idea that has assumed the form of an animal. Makes them no less dangerous, but at least they're a little easier to deal with. The darkness doesn't protect them like the Taken, and thus they can be destroyed by either light or bullets right away.
Oh. I didn't realize they could be destroyed by the bullets. New Reality, Fragment 1.
The atmosphere in the projection booth at the drive-in was charged, almost unreal. Despite that, the air felt cool and refreshing this late at night. It'd been a hot day. The summer was nearing its end, but it wasn't over yet.
That feels like it should have been in the drive-in ones. The darkness.
The darkness rose from the depths of Cauldron Lake and took Alice. It needed words. It needed me to write its way into our world. She was leverage, a hostage. I complied, but with a twist. I put in a loophole that gave me a chance to fight back. I was hunted by shadowy enemies, but I faced the darkness. I fought it with light. I drove it back. I saved Alice, but it came with a cost. I was trapped in the dark place below Cauldron Lake.
Ooh. So that's kind of the story of the first game. Lost in the dark place.
After my disappearance, they thought I was dead. I might as well have been. I know it's been 2 years. I know Alice has moved on. I've tried to find a way back to her, back to my life, but escaping the dark place is almost impossible. Time does strange things here, but dreams and radio signals can pierce the veil between the worlds. I catch glimpses and echoes of the world. Sometimes I send messages out. I can only pray that they hear them.
So I don't think they mentioned at all in the first game that Alan Wake was writing for that Night Springs TV show. But it sounds like, according to this letter, he was writing for that for a year up to his disappearance, and it's been 2 years since he disappeared before the start of this game.